So let's kick this off with just a general synopsis of Samurai Pizza Cats. Typically I write out a general synopsis, like a paragraph or two. I didn't write down anything. It's like there's not really much to say as far as the total plot, but it's a pretty simple premise. But first off, Samurai Pizza Cats, or Kyato Ninten Teiyande, originally aired on TV Tokyo in Japan from February 1st, 1990, and it ran for 54 episodes until February 12th, 1991. Generally, the English dub then was cut down to 52 episodes over on YTV in Canada, and then the United States had something around 40, which is really the episode count at this point is like a moot point since we have the DVDs and everyone else has like put it up online a couple of times, but it's there for posterity. So would one of y'all like to go through the general setup of Pizza Cats, or would you like to just continue to listen to me ramble for a couple more minutes?
Oh, I'm all here for listening to you ramble.
I was really hoping one of you would pick it up.
No, there's sometimes when I'm a guest, I just like get lost in listening, and I'm like forget to talk.
Yeah, it happens to me all the time. Take it away, Dave.
Well, I'll just continue to serenade y'all then, just right off the rip. So, Samurai Pizza Cats, it's a very easy setup. You have this town, Little Tokyo. It is imagine it to be a retro future setting where all of the inhabitants are mechanized animals or little robot animals. They're called animaloids, who, for anyone who cares. It's a bunch of mecha furries. And in this retro future and in a feudalistic society, you have the ruler Emperor Fred, Emperor Fred is basically a figurehead. The real ruler is his spoiled little daughter, Princess Vi, who is a little bunny rabbit. And the general setup is you have the Emperor at the top, you have his royal court, or in Samurai Pizza Cats, it got changed to, I think it's like the Business Association is what they changed it to. And so our bad guy is a shifty character named the Big Cheese. And he is a fox. No, wait, he's a rat. They made him a rat. And he wants to take over the throne. Simple enough. And he has an army of ninja crows led by his cohort, the old crow, Jerry Attrick. Get used to the puns in this show because they're not going anywhere. The leader of the squad of bad crows, just named Bad Bird. Now, we have our main head of security, Big Al Dente, and he is a big old bulldog who knows that the Big Cheese is trying to make a play for the throne, but the Big Cheese is just so crafty. So behind the scenes, Big Al is the leader of the titular Samurai Pizza Cats. We have 3 cats led by Speedy Cerviche, assisted by Guido Anchovy, and the lovely Polyester. But these 3 ninja cats, or again, they got changed to Samurai in this version. So Speedy, Guido, and Polyester are sent out on missions to thwart the Big Cheese's nefarious schemes, which usually involve sending out some sort of giant or ridiculous robot and some harebrained scheme. It's very Monster of the Week, and it is a show just full of 90s references and just pop culture everywhere.
I mean, there's also themes that you didn't expect, like the Big Cheese became more of a cross-dresser by the end of the series.
Yeah.
As he embraced this desire to wear women's clothing, and it was just
that was that's a fun character.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere. It just all of a sudden he starts buying dresses and kimonos and stuff like that, and it's just like, okay, I guess this is what he is now.
Again, for the fact that not only did we have the opening credits by a guy impersonating comedian Paul Lynde, you also had Big Cheese's voice actor, we'll talk about later, also doing a Paul Lynde impression, which is like spot on for what the Big Cheese is. Because everyone around him, like Geriatric and the crew, are just like, oh, the Big Cheese is cross-dressing again. Let's just let him do it. Everyone's like, oh, they don't even want to look at him in the face.
Got to remember, there's a bit of controversy around this show with the
yes, very much
sexism, racism, and stuff like that, because they didn't really hold back. They were just kind of making fun of everybody, and in the 90s, that was what people did, and we all laughed at it. But nowadays, I guess you kind of got to be a little more careful with what you do. As an outsider looking in at some of these targeted jokes, I never found anything crossed any line. It was just making fun of everybody.
So as far as what got us into talking about this show, Sam and I don't have too much of a. Well, I didn't have any experience growing up with this show because by the time I was watching Saturday morning cartoons and all of that, I was more like watching TV in the turn of the millennia, like for 2000, 1999. Pizza Cats was well off the air in North America by that point, or at the very least, it wasn't in any of the time slots I was watching. So when I mentioned that I was interested in looking at this show, Brian, you said you actually had more of a familiarity with this show when it originally aired.
This show aired on a station up here in Canada called YTV, or Youth Television, and I think we also discovered that this was actually created by a Quebec company, so it was actually done inside of Canada, and this was on TV all the time. It was just kind of that show that was there that you watched with the all the other anime, because they blocked it in with like the Sailor Moon, the Dragon Ball Z, the Astro Boy, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I just remembered this, always jumping to watch this. It was always on the Saturday morning block. It was at a time where there was nothing else that was better on. So this one became a staple, then eventually became the after-school cartoons that were on. You know, you get home and just in time to start watching this. So I love this show because I was really into the whole transforming robot phase of my life, and the power suits and the armor suits. So it's this one actually holds like a little special place in my my youth. That's why when you're talking about it, I was like, yeah, you definitely got to watch this one. This is definitely one that is something that would make for a good episode of your show.
Yeah, I never watched this. I had to look up, Brian, you said it was on, what was it, Y7 or YTV?
YTV,
that's the one.
Yeah, you guys, that was kind of like your Nickelodeon, or where they kind of put all the cartoons and kids shows. That sounds like an awesome channel. Actually.
Yeah, no, but Nickelodeon was very Nickelodeon centric, where YTV was very Canadian cartoon and some stuff from Nickelodeon centric. We also had Nickelodeon up here for a while.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, so like I was trying to find where it would have run in syndication in the US, and I guess it was on UPN for a bit, but like I never watched this as a kid, but I think I would have liked it.
Yeah, the American version actually had to redub some of the dub to make it less offensive for American audiences as well. So you can actually find clips online of them doing a side-by-side comparison of the original dub and then the American dub.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have a country full of pansies. That's what it is.
Okay.
Like Canada, where we're all real men.
They just had to like redub it without the like A at the end of it.
Yeah, that's pretty much. We're going to get you, big cheese, eh?
Yeah. Hey there, guy.
Oh, what you know there, buds? Coming down here, bad bird.
Oh, man. Have you ever seen that comedian that does like the overdubs of everything, but with an Alberta accent? Like, that would have been funny.
He's all over the place.
Oh, man. I gotta look him up.
Oh, the Alberta accent is so fucking funny.
Oh, I'll bet. You'll need to tell me who he is later, and I'll have to look.
Yeah, we'll post one in the Discord.
Yeah.
I think I first heard about it maybe in 2020 or so, and it was because it was when I was first following the Discotheque Media publishing company, and they had done essentially. I didn't realize that this show had been out of print for many, many years after its United States run. And so it was sometime in 2020 or after where Discotheque, again, this is an anime licensing company, so eventually that license will expire. And it's not like they do a continuous print run of everything anyways. They get a large catalog. So essentially they'll give out warnings of, hey, this show is about to go out, quote, out of print online. And so Pizza Cats was in that group, and I had some folks in another anime Discord I'm in, expressing, sadness of, oh man, I better get my Pizza Cats while it's still cheap. And I still see it on pictures of con tables. So, I mean, it's still around. But yeah, I mean, I've checked out the show and really, I was looking at it with a fresh face this time. And I was really enjoying it. So by the time I reached out to you, Brian, I was almost halfway through the Pizza Cats. And I'd also seen the first 10 episodes in both versions. But then I decided we're just going to do Pizza Cats because there's enough meat on the bone already on this episode without watching 2 anime and like over 100 episodes just to go like, yeah, the Japanese version exists. Great.
Yeah, I never got into the Japanese version. It I don't know, it feels almost like a whole different world, and I was so enamored by Samurai Pizza Cats that I didn't want it to be ruined for me with it's not even the same show. So I stuck with my Samurai Pizza Cats, and that's who I'll die with.
I think the top level stuff is there, but as far as, again, not only is it a redub, they also cut time specifically for commercials. Yes, they also cut content. So there was the one episode I remember putting in the Discord where you had the classic trope of they go to a guru guy and he's a very much like a Master Roshi kind of character. He just sees Bulma or he sees polyester and just starts, just fawning over her, shall we say. And
great.
they they cut that from the Pizza Cats version but they still play poker. They kept poker. So they kept in the gambling where his whole thing was in the Japanese version is like, well, I like gambling and women. And if you're true ninjas, then luck is an aspect that you guys should embrace. So we're going to play poker. And it's like, okay. And then he always kept making eyes at Polly. I'm surprised how many of the action scenes that they cut. And it's not like there's no blood in the show. Like, not at all. But there are scenes like in Teyande where you have signs of like, Guido is using the umbrella and he's just whacking birds on the head. And then you have Speedy Cervece straight up slicing dudes with not just like the cartoon way. Like he's like, it's filler battles. They cut a bunch of filler and it was mostly for time so they could put in more commercials.
Of course, you gotta sell those toys.
They got to sell those toys because certainly didn't sell that many in Japan.
Well, I was watching the game trailer a little bit before, and I'm really hoping that the game itself, because I mean the game looks, it's only a short trailer, but it looks gorgeous. Like it looks like a playable cartoon, like almost had a lot of Cuphead influence. It almost looked like. So I'm hoping that they can, reintegrate some of the violence, because really, like, this is, at this point, like you're making this for nostalgia purposes. Like you can kind of cut loose and make it maybe a little bit more edgy than what the dub ended up being in North America. Like you can kind of lean into it. We're all in our 30s and 40s now. I think we can handle it.
Go for that E10 rating. I dare you.
Yeah, E10 and up, at least.
So it may be a little hard to talk about the original director's intent when this is not only redubbed but re-edited. So it's really more of a Tony Oliver and crew production than it is, the Saban dub and the Saban re-edit of Pizza Cats. But I would still like to mention that this cartoon, the creative force, it is an original series. There is no previous comic book or anything. This is a anime original by the legendary Tatsunoko Productions, which original anime is like kind of their thing. So this is the studio that brought us Speed Racer, Science Ninja Team, Gatchaman, or I think Gatchaman got turned into Star Blazers. But Time Bokon, Yatterman, Tekken Man Blade. I mean, they just got a laundry list of all these properties where this studio is, they make these shows and their goal is to manage the copyright for licensing and merchandising. So they do the whole multimedia approach. They do the toys, the manga, all of that stuff. And they did the same with Kyoto Ninden, Teyande. But it wasn't like the legend of Samurai Pizza Cats was like, this was a flop in Japan. Not necessarily. It was more like a show that Brian kind of summed it up, even like on the YTV. Like it had its moments, but it was kind of a show that was in between all the other ones. It kind of just had its time in the sun and then came and went.
Like it was never going to be at the top of anybody's list, but it was entertaining enough that it was a good filler between those shows you were dying to watch.
And I find it interesting that you mentioned it wasn't a manga before, and I mean I'm not the biggest most knowledgeable person on anime and by any stretch, but a lot or most of the most popular ones are usually adaptations from manga. Did they ever go back and make one out of it? Like I'm sure they merchandised a little bit, but
Yeah. Okay. So there was a. So if I'm going to talk about the Japanese merchandise, I'll touch on it real quick. In general, as far as if we're talking the most notable piece of merchandise, maybe again, all of this was Japanese exclusive. You had Tecmo or Koei Tecmo. They made a platformer for Pizza Cats on the Famicom in 1991.
Ooh.
And that never came over here. However, of course, through the magic of ROMs and fan translations, there is a fan made ROM hack with a Pizza Cats dialogue. Someone went back and redubbed, or rewrote that Famicom game with Pizza Cats dialogue. So there is that floating around on the internet. There is some limited run character goods and toy kits by Bandai, which Bandai jumps in. Again, the Bandai company did a lot of toys and action figures, and one of the groups that actually helped make this cartoon, and one of the reason when we see like the Pizza Cats power up and we say like the quote Gundam Cats is because one of the groups that helped make Pizza Cats was a group called like the Sotsu Agency. And this is one that would work with Bandai a bunch of times and is eventually got folded into the whole Bandai Namco Filmworks umbrella that's been around since the more recent, like in the 2020s. So the Sotsu Agency would be a lot of like an advertising group and that would work with Bandai. So there were a couple of folks who did like mech designs and had some Gundam experience who worked on Pizza Cats. So just a little bit of that as well. And then so some of these character goods made their way to Europe. And I even saw like there was a Pizza Parlor playset with minifigures. And
Awesome.
so again, none of that came over here. But to the manga end, there was a tie-in manga in 1990, and then they did a short sequel manga in 1994. And even the Saban version of Pizza Cats got a couple of chapters. Like they got a very limited run. I believe it was like Valiant Comics, actually. It was Valiant Comics it was Valiant Comics. They got a couple of chapters in there with Saban's, I think Saban had like their own magazine or something. So there was some merchandise for Pizza Cats, but it was all Japan specific, and then we got some very limited things over here under the for Tian Day, and then we got Pizza Cat stuff over here. Another interesting thing about when this show was getting animated, because again, it's a thing of multiple studios sometimes and a lot of assistant work. So Tatsunoko was like the lead producer on this, but we also had, and this ties into our series director here when I get through this part. We had a group called like Studio Kurumi, which is more so like a ink and paint and finishing studio. And so like the anime side, they worked on Sherlock Hound, Porco Rosso, Castle of Cagliostro, Castle in the Sky, or Laputa, a lot of Miyazaki assisted works. They also did Urusei Yatsura, the Beautiful Dreamer film, so a little bit of Mamoru Oshii in there. But for this one, they also worked on Western animation. So Studio Kurumi assisted on the Care Bears. They worked on Captain Planet and the Planeteers. They did the real Ghostbusters, season 1 of Heathcliff, and then they even did some G.I. Joe, or they did specifically a movie, the Operation Dragonfire, the 1989 film.
They're all great.
Yeah. And it turns out our series director for the Japanese version is a guy named Kunitoshi Okajima, who worked at Studio Kurumi from 1978 until its closure in the mid-90s. So at some point, he had some involvement, primarily as a colorist. So he was there for color directions and designs. So he brings a lot of that into, if you think about how the design and the colors of Samurai Pizza Cats, like this is a very bright and cheerful, colorful show. It's also his directorial debut.
Yeah, I did remark, like a lot of the environments are very similar because it all takes place in Little Tokyo. So you're getting a lot of like Pizza Parlor, you're getting a lot of the, like the enemy hideout and stuff like that. So a lot of the environments are a little bit repetitive, but within those environments, there's a lot of color and detail. So that part was nice. There's at least a lot going on for you to look at.
I don't know if I never actually paid that much attention to it. I know it's very repetitive, but it's all taking place in Little Tokyo, and like every cartoon back then, you saved money by reusing backgrounds. So it just,
yeah, absolutely.
like,
Scooby-Doo, anyone?
Yeah, like the transformation is always the same. The when they arrive at the fight and they do their popping up from the ground or over the rooftop, it's always the same animations. It's what you expect. I mean, some of the more special episodes, I guess we'll call them the high budget episodes. They're in different locations, so I don't know. I found it very. I'm not going to say like it popped, but it was very colorful for sure, and definitely very cartoony.
And even in the version that I saw on YouTube, and it is an older show, and when Saban got the materials, Tatsunoko didn't do a very good job of preserving the materials, because again, Pizza Cats wasn't a flop, but it, suffice to say, it probably underperformed by all usual metrics. So, and it's not like anime studios have a stellar job of preservation in the first place. So when I was watching Teyande, the Japanese version over on YouTube, the colors were popping out much more. And the Pizza Cats version, some segments you can tell like the animation's a little rough or the picture quality's a little rough. But even in some of the washed out segments, you can still see the vision. And of course, this is a lot of the character designs follow your traditional color palette. If you're thinking like your traditional mecha colors, you've got your blues, your reds, your whites and yellows, very much in that tradition.
Sorry.
What?
There's blues, there's reds, there's greens.
There's reds, there's
when
greens.
You put them all together, they make all the other colors of the spectrum. No, sorry, it's just the way that came out.
Yeah, I know. It's true though. Like on this episode, Dave lists colors. No, it's true. They do follow that, like, and you mentioned before about how I think there were some Gundam animators that either were involved or consulted on it. Like, you really got the feel of like, this is definitely like Gundam Junior with like the, and then, yeah, like you said, there's the, your basic color palette and stuff. Can we talk about some of the wilder choices that they made with some of the designs and like just animation in general? Like, let's talk about them getting fired out of a giant 6-shooter revolver.
Yes. The catapult.
The catapults. Yeah. But it's just, and then there were a couple episodes where they actually showed them getting like loaded into these little like bullet or like pods or whatever.
First episodes.
Yeah, like, oh my god.
Do you know how long it took me to realize they were jumping into pizza ovens?
Yeah, that I got.
I did not get that for the longest time.
What if they jumped into the wrong oven? Like, oh shit, that's an actual oven.
Oh fuck, they should have done that with one episode where they all come out in each other's outfits there. That would have been fun.
Oh, you're talking jumped into each other's ovens. I meant like jumped into an actual oven.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a little bit morbid.
Yeah.
No, they would have done the whole, when there would have been like a tail on fire and a smoke trail, and then it would have popped to something else. Or...
Definitely would have had a pun in that.
Oh yeah.
That's a hot
going
pussy.
Along. Okay.
There it is.
going along with how wild that 6-shooter built into the pizza parlor is, like, they also allude to the fact that they have secret identities, but it's like they're clearly like when they transform, they barely look different. Like, they're getting shot out of a gun. Like, there's no reason for a pizza parlor to have a gun on it. Like, it's so funny that and it feels kind of tongue in cheek almost, because there's one episode where they get replaced by, it's like the Action Force or something like that.
Yeah, like the
like everyone
sidekicks.
Yeah,
sidekick episode.
It's like everyone low key knows that they're what they do and that they're the Samurai Pizza Cats the whole time. Like,
I mean, Francine belts off a rhyme every time she shoots them out, so it's not like they're hiding.
Yeah, Francine is amazing. One of the best characters in the series.
Low key, she's one of my favorite side characters. And even at the end of the end of the series, we're like, oh yeah, Francine has been undergoing secret ninja training. Never saw her fight. I was like, oh my gosh, really? Never saw her fight. Yeah. So her entire thing was just to be the boss, kind of hold the cover, and then just launch him out of the cannon. And then the second gag of she always misses the target. So obviously they're going to end up in the wall or in the side of a mountain or in the ground. Just take your pick. They're going to crash land almost every single time.
And every time they're shot out of the cannon, that like mom and kid are like walking down the street, and they always like look up and say something snarky about like,
Oh, I love those
um,
too.
just yeah, those are the yeah. You can always count on it every episode for just
Yeah.
something like completely unhinged to be said in that moment.
Mama Mutton Jr. there. Oh my god.
Yeah,
They just have like there's no purpose to those two characters. They're always standing outside the pizza parlor, and every time the Pizza Cats get launched off, that's their entire purpose in the show, and it's perfect. They could do nothing better with those two characters. And they're like the
Yeah.
what is his name, Waldorf and other
I
guy
was just
from the
about to say
Muppet.
that. Yes, Statler and Waldorf. I was going.
Yeah.
They are exactly them, and that's
Oh
all they need to
yeah,
be.
from the Muppets. Yeah, those guys. Yeah, they are. They're just like the cranky, snarky. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, the other big notable thing about Pizza Cats, it really both versions. Like again, this is the Japanese original series is a comedy. We're not going from a serious drama or this is not a ghost story situation where they took a regular kids show and said, we hate this show, we're just going to tear it apart. No, they are adapting a comedy series into another comedy series. And part of that comedy was, of course, interacting with a narrator. All the fourth wall breaks. You know, the narrator
many.
is just oh man, he is magical in both
Oh, and
versions in this show.
riffing
It's
on other
incredible.
shows, like taking pot shots at the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes, there were a bunch of
episode
that,
1, the
yeah.
retirement home for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Just first episode, get it out of the way.
What you mentioned that it was a, like they didn't really, wasn't a translation, right? It was just a like they got the animation and then they wrote their own overdub for it, correct? So like it doesn't always necessarily follow the plot of what's going on, just based on what they could see, they wrote the script. Is that what that means?
Generally,
Because I like that.
yes.
I like that idea.
Yeah. It was a very novel concept. Again, as Michael McConaughey says, there were no chains on them because the materials that they got, it's debatable like how bad of a shape the materials were because yeah, it was either very poorly translated, still in Japanese, or just not delivered at all. Yes, they essentially had a solution of, okay, I guess we're watching 54 episodes of animation and just parsing it out from there.
Yeah, I like the idea that you just wing it and then you come up with just the most insane stuff that you can come up with as far as like what the characters are saying. And just think about that. Like you have no clue what they're saying and then you have to just kind of approximate. That must have been a pretty fun
Yeah.
writing situation.
Especially when you have like
Yeah.
an entire robot's like a sushi machine there, and it's just like making people into sushi with the 2-finger technique.
Oh God,
Yep.
I want to talk about the robot designs so bad. But yeah, as Brian said earlier, this was indeed recorded in Canada, but the actual script writing process took place in Los Angeles. So we already mentioned Michael Arrington and Michael McConaughey. They have coming over from Transformers and the Power Rangers, and we also had Mike Reynolds, who got a lot of his voice stuff from Robotech and others. Longtime voice actor and writer. Any kind of like monsters or old man would be Mike Reynolds. We had Ardwright Chamberlain, who wrote at least 10 episodes. You had Tom Weiner, Steve Kramer, several others. Leading of this was, again, the story editor was Tony Oliver. So again, longtime voice actor and director. And he was a producer on the Power Rangers franchise up until Turbo. So very much in his wheelhouse on this one. And he's actually still working today. If you guys have remember when we had the cartoon Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, that was a Tony Oliver ADR work. And the actual voice direction on Pizza Cats was fellow, again, Saban regular Tim Reed. So again, voice director, writer, comedian. And going into this, also these cartoons from Japan that were brought over and recorded in the 90s, a lot of these were like late 70s, early 80s. You had Saban's Adventures of the Little Mermaid, which is like the Hans Christian Andersen version. You had the Wizard of Oz TV series, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and Saban's Peter Pan and Wendy. So he was the voice director on all of those and a writer on all of those. Again, these folks were very much in their wheelhouse on Pizza Cats, given essentially free reign to write just about whatever they want. It's a rare case of the legend of them writing a script from scratch. Actually, mostly true. You don't get that often.
Yeah, you mentioned another example of, were there a lot of shows like this? I know Power Rangers, I think, had a like basically they filmed
Oh, everything
the
inside.
actors.
Yeah, everything
Yeah,
in the
everything was
battle
suits.
scenes is the Japanese version, and then they re-recorded stuff for the North American version.
Right. So are there other examples of like this show? Like you mentioned Saban, which did Power Rangers too. Like did they get in the business of doing any other dubs like this where they just kind of had that like wing it mentality for the script? Because I'd
No,
be interested in checking them out. It's a lot of fun.
yes, they took more cartoons and redubbed it, but no, not nowhere near to this extent. The next example wouldn't really comes to mind in my head is of course Ghost Stories, and that's a completely different company. Ghost Stories over in Japan is like a series of books. Basically Japanese Goosebumps. And the folks who worked on that, the legend was like Ghost Stories was this massive flop in Japan. It wasn't actually. It was sold incredibly well. It did incredibly well. But the voice cast were like, this show is boring, so we're going to rewrite it and basically turned it into Family Guy.
Awesome.
It's one of the more infamous examples. But actually, for Pizza Cats, it's interesting because the Pizza Cats edit is something that when the Japanese staff got a hold of it and were looking at it, it's actually reported that they gave this edit some praise. It's not they were like, you respected the general vibe of the show and you actually executed on the premise better than we did in some instances. So I was like, okay, rare praise from the series composition crew.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah. I mean,
You got to remember, there's a huge difference in our cultures and the style
Absolutely.
of comedy we
Mhm.
do. So yeah, as long as they stayed true to the spirit, I imagine you'd get praise for what they did. They kept it funny. That's the big thing.
Yeah, and the original writing staff, I only have like the two head writers because again, you got like a million writers on this thing. You had Satoru Akahori and Mayuri Sekijima, and they're known. They both worked on a series called like Saber Marionette J, and then they also did another Tatsunoko work, Tekkaman Blade. You had Tenchi Muyo, one of the writers on Tenchi Muyo. So again, Tenchi was like one of the big '90s anime. So getting a little bit into the character designs and just design work in general before we start talking about some robots. These one of the things that we can, of course, readily talk about from the Japanese side is obviously the characters and the animaloids. So we have character designer Masahiro Aizawa, who also did animation direction on a Revolutionary Girl Utena. If you like Sailor Moon, you would really enjoy Revolutionary Girl Utena. It's got that weird factor. But we also have, so at the beginning of the show, there was a guy, Michael Arrington was calling himself Googie Gomez for the singing portion. We got a guy calling himself Santa Claus. It's none other than a man named Hiroshi Ogawa, who worked on the 1997 remake of Speed Racer. He also did designs for Tekkaman Blade. And then he did Red Bullet Zillion, which was IG Tatsunoko, later would be the foundational work for the folks who would go on and make Production IG, the studio. So he was a mech designer on those. And then we have Noritaka Suzuki, who is part of the, at the time, freelance design group Studio Ox. So Studio Ox actually did illustrations for the Transformers franchise. And then he's also done design work across a good number of shows. So there's a show called like Girls Last Tour, Uncle from Another World, and then like a dark fantasy series, Goblin Slayer. So nothing that resembling Pizza Cats in those credits, but went on, and he's still active today. And then like on the art direction, we got folks who worked on Urusei Yatsura, chiefly its movies. Again, really colorful series. Space Warrior Baldos, Magical Princess Miki Momo. I think you guys have seen Ranma Half.
Nope.
No, I haven't, but I've heard of it. It looks interesting. You're going to hear
That's
that a
the
lot
one
from
where
me.
that's the one where the guy turns into the girl when she sneezes or something like that.
Yeah, when he gets splashed with cold water, I believe he turns into a girl.
Oh, just like
Ranma
us
Half.
all.
Yeah.
Just like us
Yeah,
all.
I get splashed with
but
water.
like Urusei Yatsura, yeah, but Urusei Yatsura and Ranma Half are both based on manga by the author of Sailor Moon. Again, you've like Sailor Moon, like these are like premier late 80s and early 90s series and movies. So the art director, and you can see his work again across the general look of the show and the environments. So this is a guy named Toraro Arai. Quite a pedigree was what I'm trying to say on Samurai Pizza Cats, despite, again, it's 54 episodes. It's not the most expensively produced show in the world, a lot of reused animation and such, but still, like, you can tell, like, quite a bit of effort still went into the show. The character designs, like, we got some really interesting looking, just some weird denizens as well. Like, there's a Roadrunner character who just randomly runs people over as well.
It even does like the meep meep. It's like, wow.
Every time. I love it. The giant robot, the Supreme Catatonic. That's a terrible pun.
Yeah.
But
everything in this movie is a terrible pun.
Oh yeah, when the Pizza Cats need a Megazord, they call him the Supreme Catatonic, which to me was like, okay, that's just Voltron or Go Lion, which was all, again, a bunch of lions joined together to make a giant robot. So obviously it's going to be very Voltron inspired.
Yeah, there was one that kind of looked like a Megazord too. I liked those. I liked all those kind of nods or callbacks to like pre-existing stuff that just looked familiar, but it was fun because it was like the little kitty cat version of it.
Are there any of like all the bad guys are ninja crows? So like all the bad guy robots indubitably are like crow themed, which some of those robots are very much Asterix crow themed. Like they'll just find random object and then slap a beak on it. What are some of your favorite designs? Do you have any standouts?
I like Sunblock 16 because that's such a ridiculous name, and the thing just stands up or like flies in space and literally does what its name says. He just has two big fans on his arm, and he opens them up, and he just blocks the sun. And that's when you learn the Pizza Cats have a need for solar power.
Even sometimes when they get shocked, all of a sudden, instead of a regular animal skeleton, it's robot skeleton.
Yeah. Other ones, I like the near the beginning of the show, the Sushi Bot. I mentioned him earlier. That was, I think, where I kind of started falling in love with the show, because it was such a ridiculous concept that you just take a sushi maker and then hypnotize him, put him in a bot, and then the whole premise is this thing is going around turning people into sushi. Of course, you got the more serious ones. You got the Ninja Crowbot that was piloted by the Rude Noise, and near the end of the series, you have the the big cheese robot that he uses to quote unquote save the town, and then everybody's just like, I don't give a shit about you, and then just everybody just doesn't believe him, so he gets angry and he just becomes an enemy again, and then the Pizza Cats show up and blow the robot up.
I think one of my favorites, it's aside from the dragon in episode 1, like that was one of those of like, okay, yeah, that looks pretty cool, but I went more like the sushi robot role. Like I went for the stupid and ridiculous. One of my favorites is the wash tub robot. It's literally a bucket, and they put 2 eyes and a beak on it, and then just had arms and legs just sticking out of it.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love the ridiculousness of some of the designs. Absolutely a great way to keep the comedic aspect there, because they're thematic to what they're doing as well. So it's like the Big Cheese wants to, I don't know, flood everything. He has a giant hot tub robot.
Yeah.
It's
funny.
It's just so well done.
The script, it's like, it's not such a stretch for them to make it so crazy, because it's like the show is already nuts.
I also love the fact that they start complaining about the cost of some of these robots. So there are a lot of lines in this one. Like one of them was like, okay, if we don't do this, the robot will do. I don't care if it gets terrible gas mileage. It's supposed to be a big, scary robot. Send it out. Just lines like that. Or what was it? Oh, we're screwed now. They finished the transformation scene before the episode ended. Everybody run.
That kind of stuff made me laugh every time. Like, I mean, the script is really what grabbed me, because sometimes for me, like watching a show like this, it's really geared towards younger kids. Like I don't find all that much interesting. Like you can see some of the fun designs and stuff, and it's like, okay, like the action itself is kind of boring at times, but like there would be times when I'd throw episodes on and have a pair of headphones and be doing other stuff and just kind of glance at it. But like the jokes always made me chuckle when it's stuff like that. Like the fourth wall breaking was always great.
Oh, I love the fourth wall breaking. I love when they called out other shows or just did something there to reference pop culture of the time. Like Speedy does his Clint Eastwood impression, and it's just terrible.
Yeah, or like they're they're always talking about their contracts and stuff like that, or like how they don't get paid enough. Like, excellent.
That's the best part. The narrator takes off at one point because he wants to renegotiate his
You're right.
contract and ends up coming back.
Yeah, it's like the narrator leaves and the Pizza Cats are still in the air, and they're going, "Wait, what happens next? We don't know. Maybe he went to go talk to the writers." Wham! Right into the mouth.
Right.
It's like a line. What is it? It looks like the writers aren't the only ones on the show who occasionally lay an egg.
So funny.
And it's awesome because the writers wrote it about themselves.
One thing also that feeds into the atmosphere, and another big difference between the Japanese and English versions is, of course, the soundtrack, because part of the materials that didn't really come over that great on the English side was the music. So, and I was actually shocked when I was seeing like who's the composer on this thing, and it's Kenji Kawai, the guy who composed Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, damn.
And he's also done like Cat Labor, Devilman, Vampire Princess, Miyu, also Ran My Half. Like, he's done whimsical and comedic stuff, don't get me wrong. So instead, we brought in Shuki Levy, who is like the composer for every single cartoon ever, also Power Rangers, obviously. And Haim Saban also came in. He-Man, Inspector Gadget, Spider-Man, X-Man, Heathcliff, Digimon. Need I go on? The man who's like composed the music to my childhood, essentially. They just brought him on here, and they play it completely unserious. It just feeds into that atmosphere.
Well, you have to do it that way. The music can actually set the tone of a comedy. Like if you have dreadful, serious music, the jokes aren't going to land. But if you have the whimsical, cartoony soundtrack going on, it really adds to the comedy, especially like the little riffs that they do that they use in every show.
Yeah, and it's like they brought Shuki Levy in, and some of these tracks, I can just hear him in his head go, "Commence with the kazoos."
Yeah, exactly. Would somebody please cue that, Boyd?
Yeah.
Then it starts off with that very good intro, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Which gets stuck in my head really badly.
Yeah, leave it to him to make the most irritating earworm ever that I'm still sitting here going like, yeah, now it's in my head as I'm talking about it. So like it's just endlessly bright, bouncy, and silly. I'll be honest, I really wanted to do the entire minute and a half intro to open this episode, but I really don't want to get flagged.
It's so long.
It did kind of have diminishing returns when you do a full watch. I mean, it was pretty good when you watch an episode a day, but if you're power watching this like I did for this podcast, it can get grating, that intro song.
Yeah.
And not that I hate it, it's so repetitive that I'm tired of it.
I had to skip it.
Yeah, it's so much of the same thing. Yeah.
It fits the show, but
like,
it's just it's too long.
Yeah.
It should be like 30
It's like
seconds.
when they put your favorite song on the radio and they play it every hour, and then eventually it's not your favorite song anymore because you've overheard it.
I don't listen to stuff that's on the radio.
Oh my god.
What's the radio?
Jesus, look at you spoiled bastards down there. We listen to the radio because at least they have a morning show.
No, I don't listen to the radio because I listen to music that's like too cool for the radio.
I thought you were going to say like good.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
So anything else on the script or dialogue, or kind of want to jump into a little bit of the voice cast here? Just kind of run through them real quick.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
Pretty much just following along at this point.
Initially I had lists for both sides, but I'll just kind of make it mention here. Yeah, if you look through the Japanese credits, you've got some just the 80s and 90s regulars. You've got Kappa Yamaguchi, who again, around my half, he's the main character. He voices Usopp in One Piece. He's L in Death Note. Like, very well known. Also, Mr. 80s himself, Koichi Yamadera. He's in literally everything. You've got Ai Orikasa, who also sang the theme credits for the Japanese version, which I'll use a little bit. I'll play a little bit of that at the end of the show. Also, Jiroto Kosugi, who's Jotaro from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the original OVA series, appearing in One Piece, Naruto. You start scrolling through here, and there's some really big names on the casting list. And of course, on the English side, we've got some regulars. So we've got featuring the voice talents of, we got Rick Jones, we got Terrence Scammell, also acting as the narrator. So Terrence voices Guido as well as the narrator. Rick Jones is Speedy Cerviche, doing his very much, "Hey guys, I'm Speedy Cerviche, yeah." Sonja Ball's Polyester.
Boom,
Just
spot on.
That was really good.
I don't know why I decided to do an impersonation, but I'm just gonna roll with it. We got Sonja Ball on Polyester. You know, she's the one who tries to keep Speedy and Guido in line, usually by punching them. We got AJ Henderson as Big Al Dente, you know, the big bulldog samurai in charge of the security. Seymour the Big Cheese, which I thought it was interesting that they changed him from, because if you look at him in the show, he's clearly a fox, you know, the sly, crafty fox. But for some reason, they decided, I guess they're going for like a cat and mouse aesthetic. So they just said he's a rat in the Pizza Cats. And sure, if you look at his face, it's like very rat face. But you look at his colors, he's obviously a fox. But it works for the show, and just it's still a funny character no matter what. But you got Dean Hagopane doing his Paul Lynde impression for Seymour the Big Cheese, which also leans into the Big Cheese's more proclivities for cross-dressing and just being very eccentric character, is eccentrically evil. Like Seymour Big Cheese kind of reminds me of Dr. Evil in some aspects, like going for that kind of voice, and then just throw Paul Lynde instead of Mike Myers, and that's essentially the Big Cheese.
Yeah, and that sums it up pretty nice.
I have Mark Camacho. Hope I'm not butchering that name, but he's geriatric, who's the old crow who actually is the planner. So the Big Cheese is like the idea man, and then it's up to Jerry and the crows to build the robot or build whatever crazy thing the Big Cheese wants. And so yeah, geriatric, he's an old crow. It's funny, get it? I also like their backstory of how the Big Cheese like became the leader of the Ninja Crows. Sam, did you see the time travel episode?
I don't know if I remember, to be honest. I watched them in such a shotgun fashion.
They do run together. Well, essentially to kind of do let me do the last guy. We have Bad Bird, who's voiced by Michael O'Reilly. So he's like the main rival to the Pizza Cats, and he's specifically like Speedy's rival. He and Speedy are like always squaring off with each other. But yeah, geriatric, the whole thing of how the Big Cheese became the leader of the Crows is there's a episode where the Pizza Cat, he builds a time machine robot. They just go, "Oh, we have a time machine robot," and it just, let's go. And the Big Cheese essentially wants to wipe out the Pizza Cats before they ever get formed. But he gets distracted because the Pizza Cats end up following him 15 years into the past. And so they decide, well, while we're here, we're just going to make it to where the Big Cheese never turned evil. The TLDR is the Big Cheese in the past, he basically tripped on a pebble, was rolling down a hill, and ended up crashing into this house where Geriatric was on his deathbed and surrounded by all the Ninja Crow clan who were seeing him off. The Big Cheese rolls into the house, lands on top of Geriatric, and they kiss in that classic fashion. And the shock of being kissed woke up Geriatric, and he was like just completely freaking out. And all the crows were like, "Hooray, he's alive! You're now our fearless leader." And that's how the Big Cheese got an army of Ninja Crows.
Checks for the show.
Checks for the show.
And that's absolutely what you would expect from this show. You would expect that it was happenstance. It wasn't some masterful plan by the Big Cheese, because he's always a fuck up.
The way that I think the way I like that how they play it in the show is on the Japanese side, it's supposed to be this secret ninja war, ostensibly, and both sides are the most obvious ninja ever. The Big Cheese is apparently still crafty enough to always have some sort of dumb excuse for why this robot, or what this robot is actually the start of a new attraction, princess, or this was actually, I'm making it's just an amusement park that I'm making over here, pay no mind. He always seems to have some kind of excuse, or like the Pizza Cats, it just hand waves it at all. They just go, the Big Cheese is the villain, it's in his contract, that's the show.
Yeah, I love how they use the contract talk just to explain away things. Like, there's no questioning it, because he could just literally answer it with, "It's in his contract to do this."
And it's a part of the show that I would like to go, because again, I've only seen about 10 episodes all total of the original series. So I'm wondering if that was really something that they came up with for Pizza Cat specifically, or if it is something that leads into that fourth wall breaking. Because, like, again, it's very obviously Big Cheese every time, yet somehow he's still on the Royal Council. So it's just kind of that hand wavy aspect of Monster of the Week that certainly makes Pizza Cats formulaic if you're watching it back to back to back. But I think if there is a way to watch this show, it would be occasionally one a day and just put it in between all of your other main shows. Because I think it also gives time to process all the jokes and like get through a chuckle instead of trying to just get through the show for time.
Yeah, this is definitely a show that can be too much of a good thing.
For sure.
Yeah, trying to like slam it down all at once there, it gets tedious after a while because some of the jokes do repeat, and it uses a lot of recycled footage throughout every episode. And it follows the formula. The Big Cheese has a robot. The Pizza Cats are doing something innocuous like delivering pizzas to Lucille. And then the Big Cheese robot attacks the city. And then Al Dente gives them a call there. And all of a sudden they show up at the pizza parlor no matter where they are. Francine shoots them off to wherever. And then they appear behind whatnot and do the little intro. And then a battle scene happens.
Watching them back to back like didn't help me appreciate the animation because like I said, I would just kind of put it on in the background and I might be doing other stuff and not 100% watching it. I'd be more listening to it. So yeah, it was almost like listening to it for the comedy of the episode, and I didn't really catch enough of the animation, unfortunately.
What do you guys think of some of the side characters? So like I'll just go ahead and mention Lucille, who's like a recurring character. She runs a tea shop. And her whole thing is when she gets too emotional, or usually it's sad or upset, or even excited, her head just opens up and you get this Ichiro Itano circus of just missiles firing out of her head, just blowing up everything in the vicinity.
That was bananas. Before I really put together that they were actually kind of at least part robot, I was like, what is going on with her?
Yeah, it makes no sense in the context of the story at all. It's just literally her head explodes.
Yeah.
I mean, why? At the same time, it doesn't detract from the actual show. So you just know she's going to do this. And, they use it sometimes in plot devices. So she gets upset in the tunnels there when everybody's kidnapped and, her head explodes and they see one of her rockets fly, and that's how they know where she is.
She unintentionally bails them out of a situation. So even specifically like the wash tub robot of all things had them trapped in these impermeable buckets and they couldn't get out. And his whole thing of defeating the Pizza Cats was, I'm just going to spin them around, send them bouncing down a hill so they'll get all dizzy. And Lucille gets upset and she just blows up the robot. Yeah. And it's not the only time that she blows up the big bag robot. And then she just walks away. He's like, oh, I feel much better. And everybody gets hit. It doesn't matter. Bad Bird, the robot gets blown up. And then you have Speedy, Guido, and Polyester over there in a burnt up pile going, thanks, Lucille.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, you nailed these voices.
Yeah. You must have been one of the voice actors in a previous life.
Yeah.
But the side characters really do add so much to the show. I mean, Francine, we've talked about Francine especially. She only ever is in the pizza parlor except for the rare occasion. And every time she's on screen or she's being heard, it's friggin' hilarious. Best character in the entire show.
She is one of the favorites.
Francine is great.
I also found myself appreciating the Rescue Squad a little bit more. At first you could see these are just a bunch of weirdos. They have such sidekick energy. You've got the I think the first one they introduced was the General
Catton.
He's this big red General Catton. And I'm just going, okay, here we go. And he's just a big burly cat, red shirt with twin cannons on his back. And immediately my mind went to, oh, he's just a gun cannon from, Mobile Suit Gundam. Because that's literally all it is. It's a giant red robot with it's a prototype Gundam, and it just has two cannons on its back. Then you had one of them that I also had to see, oh, I see what you did there. You have Spritz the cat, totally not a reference to Fritz the cat. Meowsma, and then of course Bat Cat, who I think is the goofiest one. Bat Cat's entire thing is so we have a thing where everyone gets shot out of cannons, yet Batcat is apparently the only one of them who can truly fly. And he's just got wings and a propeller. And then Meowsma is essentially Mega Man with all the attachments.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
He's more Metal Man rather than
Metal
Mega
Man.
Man.
Yeah, Metal Man. Thank you.
No, but I like how they're all very specific to, solve the plot issue. Like Spritz shows up when they need to throw water on something, and Meowsma shows up when they need to drill through something. It's just they just seem like plot devices more than sidekicks. Like as if they were created because the original writers like, I don't know how to get out of this situation. Well, let's just write a character that can get us out of it.
Like this is our main trio, and then these guys start showing up and steadily bringing them in on the show. I do like it how like when the Pizza Cats get their upgraded armor, the rescue squad is sitting there going like, well, crap, we're not going to get that. What can we do? Oh, I know. Let's just combine our weapons together.
Yeah.
And so they have their own transfer, and it makes the stupidest looking things I've ever seen.
It's ridiculous in a show that's already ridiculous enough.
I also wish we had more time because we only got one episode with these guys, the New York Pizza Cats, which I believe on the Canada version, the Canada dub, it was Michael, Prince, and Madonna. But for us, they got changed to the Sundance Kid, Cosmo, and Dee Dee, because little too close to real people for that. I was really hoping we'd get more episodes with that, because it also had one of my favorite robots, because it was so stupid. It was a geisha robot, and its whole thing was apologizing.
Oh, God.
And as soon as it apologized, it did the full-on bow, like the full-on kowtow, face to the ground, and then that's when it launched its missiles.
Yeah, that one was definitely written by a Canadian.
Just things like that. But I really wanted to see more of those, because they only got the one episode. They were introduced, and then like the Sundance Kid was the pew pew, I'm the gunslinger cat, and somebody was drinking something when they were doing the Madonna, or as they call like Dee Dee, because it's one of those like you had Cosmo was the tall, dark, and handsome New York Pizza Cat, so Polly immediately starts blushing all over him, and then Madonna is like the Jessica Rabbit of the show, just about with how they draw her, and so of course Guido and Speedy are just losing their minds over this girl. And of course, she's got the dominatrix thing. She uses a whip and has the black jacket. And so I'm just kind of sitting here watching this New York episode going, okay, people.
I'm not sure I got to that episode. What is this character for research purposes?
It's episode 38, research away.
I don't think I quite got that far. But I also really want to say I like when Ninja Turtles does this too. I can't remember what they're called. They have those frogs where it's kind of like they do the meta thing of like the in-universe version of their thing. It's like the New York Pizza Cats. There's the Samurai Pizza Cats. It's like the Ninja Turtles had those frog dudes. It's not Battletoads.
Oh, the punk frogs.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
that kind of stuff is really fun.
Yeah, like all the rescue squad are operating all the branch stores, and it's always in the booties.
Right, yeah.
So there's an episode where Big Al Dente brings in the Pizza Cats, and he's giving them a poor performance review, like your customer service.
I love
stinks.
that.
I'm sending you to the branch offices to learn some freaking customer service.
That might have been my favorite episode.
It was so good because the rescue squad's like, oh, these are surprisingly capable pizza servers, and it's supposed to be their cover.
Right. That's the episode that really stood out to me as like, oh, everyone. I just assumed that everyone knew that they were the Samurai Pizza Cats the whole time. Is like, oh, they're undercover. That's absolutely ridiculous. They don't look any different, and one of them is like carrying around a sword all the time, anyways.
Yeah, and even when like Speedy Cerviche is on the job, they're still calling him Speedy. They don't
They don't have code names.
So they're
shot out of a cannon.
There's an episode where Big Cheese, Bad Bird, and Geriatric are impersonating the Pizza Cats. And all of the townsfolk are just so gullible that they're actually falling for it. So the whole idea is the bad guys are going to impersonate the good guys to ruin the reputation of the Pizza Cats. And then the real Pizza Cats turn up, And people are going, wait, people are actually having trouble. But Lucille is the only one who's able to see through the disguise, even though it's very obviously two crows and a fox in Pizza Cat outfits,
Right.
calling themselves Speedy Cerviche, Guido Anchovy, and Polyester. We really have no chill. We really have no subtlety. There we are, subtlety in this show.
Yeah, and again, that lends to the comedy of the show.
Oh
which
yeah,
is-
absolutely.
I mean, one thing I always loved about the show is the Seymour Cheese. Every time he loses at the end of the episode, he gets so angry his head explodes, and it always does something to geriatric. Like he'll knock his toupee off, or he'll just end up with that classic Looney Tunes, face is blackened by the explosion, and his mustache is frayed at the end.
Yeah, and they do a different pose every time, or like it throws them into a different piece of furniture, or it'll blow up like Big Cheese. Or sometimes the Big Cheese is even blown up the robot because something went wrong and the Pizza Cat's got to his temper.
Yeah,
It's always something different.
always fun. What about the Rude Noise? What did you think of them? Like they came in obviously as like a mid series bad guy to kind of bring a more, I guess, challenging aspect to the Pizza Cats, because they showed up around the time they got the giant robot in their second set of armor.
Were they at one point a punk band too? The Rude Noise, like they were, yeah. And I just have to say, I was a huge fan of the Pointless Sisters.
That was an awesome episode. Some of the best jokes come out of that episode too.
That one was great. And they, obviously trying to do a whole thing on like the Japanese idol singers and so good. Yeah, the Rude Noise, that was a group. I thought they would get more mileage out of them because, yeah, they really were set up to be more of a big deal than they ended up being, because the whole idea was Speedy has this special move with the magical Ginzu swords, and he charges them up and unleashes this big blade slash, and it usually just deletes whatever's in front of him.
Yeah.
But the Rude Noise were in this robot where Speedy kept slashing it and the robot would just reassemble itself.
Yeah, that was a giant bad bird robot.
Yeah, the giant bad bird robot were piloted by 5 Rude Noise. After that, it's like, yeah, they went away ostensibly for training, and then it's like the writers forgot that they existed, and then 10 or more episodes later, they're back. And it's not like they've gotten any stronger.
I liked how they were used. They weren't overdone. So when they showed up, there was a reason for them, especially the last episode. I thought,
yeah, at the very least, they did that.
Yeah, I thought maybe they would break them up a little bit and start using them. Like when I was young, I thought they'd break them up and start using them as enemies for the rescue team. And they kind of did that at the end of the series. Is a rescue team takes on Rude Noise. Polly and Guido take on...
I think, was there a robot? No, it wasn't Bad Bird. He was waiting at the end. I think there was a robot or something blocking their path.
Yeah, and then, Speedy takes on Bad Bird.
I literally watched this yesterday and I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, right. It's just like, I watched it 2 days ago and I'm drawing a blank. That's how much this show sticks with you. You can watch it over and over again because the episodes are not memorable.
But it's very fun. I think it's very fun in the moment, but they're, especially with the time frame that we were under, I remember parts and pieces of episodes, and the only reason I can remember the Pizza Cats in New York episode is because it was one episode.
Yeah.
And it was so different from the rest of the show. But the rest, I couldn't tell you where when the idol show, when Polly and Lucille turned into singers, the Pointless Sisters. I know it was very funny, and there were a lot of jokes about, stardom and, life in the fast lane and different things like that, or making jokes about singers, like a singing voice, your usual slate of things. It's definitely one that I remember. I have fond memories of watching the show. I always feel good when I'm watching the show. But as far as lasting impact, I think there'll be like 1 or 2 jokes I'll probably take from it. Certainly the robot designs will stick with me more, just because of how ridiculous some of them were. Like there's one, like literally a giant enemy crab, and they just put a bird face on it. Since Speedy had to attack the weak spot, if we're going with references here. But there's a reason this show has a cult classic status. I think that is a accurate moniker. I really don't know if I will ever do a full watch through unless maybe I can get one of the DVDs on sale just to have it.
I don't know. If I had to give a final thought on this, I liken this show to shows like King of the Hill or Bob's Burgers because
Oh, that's a good copy. Yeah, that's
I
a good one.
find it very entertaining. I love this show. I don't put them on the top of my shows I've watched list. Like King of the Hill is fantastic. I don't audibly laugh at King of the Hill. This I find really fantastic. I don't audibly laugh, but the jokes amuse me, and the whole thing entertains me enough to keep me coming back for more. Would I ever watch it again? Probably not. Like you, I'm going to pick an episode here or there because I do have my favorite episodes. And it's available on YouTube as well, so I don't have to buy anything. And it's fun, and especially fun for kids, but it's also getting dated because some of the references are just so far 90s that it just doesn't make sense today if you don't know what they're talking about. So yeah, it's a fun show for sure. That's how I'm going to wrap it up. Fun like King of the Hill is fun.
I was actually thinking more along the lines of, I guess, are we? These are my final thoughts. I don't.
Just
This is
just in general, if you
yeah.
have anything else.
No, I guess like this is my first time watching it, and while I did enjoy it, like you guys, I don't know if I'm necessarily going back to watch it. Probably not in any multiple episodes at a time capacity for sure. Like I might throw this on and see if my kids like it because they've been into getting into anime a little bit, and at least like they'll think the cats are cute and stuff. So I mean that from that aspect maybe, but like you guys said, like Brian said, how the jokes are a little adult or a little dated, and not adult as in filthy, but just dated, and like they would go over kids' heads for sure. I kind of liken it almost to like if you've ever watched Mystery Science Theater. Some of those references are just way out there. Like they try really hard to make obscure, goofy references. So like old cartoons did this. So it's kind of a throwback, even further back than the early 90s. But like Rocky and Bullwinkle would have like references and stuff like that, I remember. So I don't know. It's a fun watch. So I wouldn't hate it if it was on for sure. But I wouldn't seek out, watching a ton of it. But like Brian said, it's on YouTube. So if you're curious and you're listening to this, you should definitely check it out.
All right. Well, that being said, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Anime Field Guide. It was good to sit down behind the mic with you all again, and it's been a lot of fun to listen to you develop your show, especially since last year when we were last all three of us together. And many happy returns to both of us, and hope we can both keep these shows going for a good while yet. So for those listening, can you tell the good folks where they might be able to find said Retrotopia podcast and all the retro goodies?
Oh, absolutely. You can find Retrotopia. That's a podcast by myself, Sam, and our heterosexual life partner from the UK, Alan. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts. It's on Spotify. You can find the main show on, if you search Retrotopia, another video game podcast. We do have a Patreon. If you join for free, you can find the Patreon feed on Spotify or get the RRS link. Spotify, it's Retrotopia Expansion Pass. You get all the main shows on Spotify, but everything else is locked behind a paywall. So Spotify is not friendly to Patreon. We don't like it, but that's how they do it. So you would have to use the RRS feed. Either way, look us up. We just have fun talking retro video games. We don't do deep dives into anything. We just kind of play the game and talk about how we feel about it.
Well said. I don't have anything else to add. What Brian said, because I'll tag along.
I could do the whole Linktree spiel.
Oh yeah, lanktr.ee/Retrotopia. You get all the links to everything.
For those of you listening, thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, I hope you guys have fun, stay safe, and as always, watch more cartoons.